Lyle Tiberius Rorke is the best Disney villain of the 2000s. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Gulliver.
And that's right. I'm giving the people what they want. Jedi Knight says he's very interested he's very interested to see what I have to say about Rorke. Well, watching it, yeah, we'll get into it, folks. It's the Atlantis, the Lost Empire 20th anniversary podcast. Oh man, I'm all pumped up for this one, guys. Atlantis is definitely it came out when I was like 11 years old. So it was sort of like one of those sort of crossroads movies where I was beginning to appreciate the artistry and the adventure side of Disney more than just like, cartoon, silly characters, gags. And so Atlantis, man, I saw this thing 3 times in theaters. I was really sucked into this movie as a kid. I really was. I thought it had great pacing, great world building. The look is super unique, which we'll get into. I don't want to spend a lot of time dwelling it, but I really attached myself to it as a kid. And then, unfortunately, the franchise just kind of like stayed dormant for a number of years, and I feel like even people that liked it back in the day kind of forgot about it to a certain extent. And, well, folks, I'm here to tell you that this movie, Gulliver, I know you see some Stargate parallels that we'll get into.
Absolutely.
But,
yeah.
I mean, for the most part, for me, I don't really watch. My biggest familiarity with Stargate is a random Six Flags 3D theater show one time that I did.
Oh, I'd love to hear about that.
I have thoughts. I have thoughts as someone who was just thrown into it with no knowledge of what Stargate is. But anyway, so I personally love this movie. I mean, I think it's funny because I feel like even some of the issues that people had with it back in the day, I feel like kind of you can iron them out. Like, for example, the crew turning on Milo. Like, well, they set up right from the very beginning that they're in it for the money. They have the whole gag where they literally all go in a line and say they're all in it for the money. And I do feel like the characters turning around was natural. I don't know. I think that this movie is pretty damn rock solid. I think it's genuinely a freaking fantastic ensemble of characters. And like I said, I think that Lyle Tiberius Rorke is just a damn underrated Disney villain. I will say this: I think Rorke might be the GOAT, the greatest of all time when it comes to Disney twist villains in particular. He was probably the thing I latched on to the most on a rewatch. All right, Gulliver, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat on a lot of what you've already described. My experience with Atlantis was a little different because I was actually overseas when this movie came out. I was around the same age as you were, but I missed it being in theaters. And so I just didn't hear about it or I didn't go see it because I wasn't in a place where I could see it easily. And then just like a few years later, somebody was like, oh, let's watch Atlantis. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And I watched it. I was like, hey, this is really good. This is very enjoyable. And I do definitely see parallels to Stargate, which we can break down later if you want. But like, I really enjoy, in particular, Stargate SG-1. And I feel like there is a strong connection between the character of Milo Thatch and the character of Daniel Jackson from both the Stargate movie and Stargate SG-1. So, yeah, this is definitely one of the more original Disney movies, in my opinion. It's one that is not based on a fairy tale or myth and folklore that exists, other than the vague concept of maybe there was this lost city. But I think it's something that is very appealing because it engages that sort of like creative what if portion of your brain. So if that's a style and a genre that you're into, I think it really works for you. I think the friends I have who like it as well feel the same way.
All right, Dragon.
Yeah, so Atlantis, I feel it's one of the great underrated Disney films from the 2000s for sure. Disney. This movie is Disney's testament to the adventure film classics. With an epic spectacle, but also with kind of a little bit of that. I think the Disney quality really comes through kind of the heart and the care applied to the characters. And of course, we have a wonderful, colorful cast of characters. I think that's where a lot of the traditional Disney magic comes through. And then you have the Disney magic in terms of Disney being the brand name of quality that comes through every other place of the film. It's kind of a send up to, again, getting the genre to just right. And it's basically, for me, the short end has always been like, what if you throw Michael J. Fox into an indie movie, Indiana Jones movie, crossed with 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea? That's pretty much what this movie feels like.
Yeah.
It's like, what if Indy went to find Atlantis, but he wasn't, it wasn't Harrison Ford? What if he was kind of the affable Michael J. Fox we all know and love? So this is, this is during Disney's ambitious years, where it's filmmaking and storytelling before it's demographics and branding. It's with franchises and such. I just love that it's truly a mystery of how does a film this cool not find an audience. And I think I was probably in the home video crowd for this when it came out. I mean, I remember the marketing swell. Like I'm pretty sure like so many other things I had like a McDonald's toy deal or something.
I remember the giant cardboard A in the movie theater. That really stuck out to me.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, I just love this Atlantis. Every time I think about it, I always think of the color scheme, with the A and this with just kind of the under the dancing lights underwater effect, the sort of thing, where it just looks like there's something kind of monolithic and kind of cool about it. It just feels like, man, this feels just kind of like, it feels cinematic, but not in like the showy look at the explosions kind of way. It just feels like, look at this. This just feels like, this is an adventure. It kind of captures the feel just even seeing just the letter. It's kind of something special about the movie that I think has endured just kind of in the back of my mind, and just kind of whenever you go back to the movie, it's always like it's always a go-to with those early 2000s films. Obviously, it's no Lilo and Stitch, but it's quite wonderful.
I mean, it's up there. I'd rank it up there with Lilo and Stitch. Like nothing's going to touch Lilo and Stitch.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you have a really good roster with this Treasure Planet, especially Lilo and Stitch. Those are three
Treasure Planet.
That's a solid trio, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Also, we have Atomic Beast in the comments.
Yeah, we have Atomic Beast. He says, when I first saw the opening, I thought the Atlanteans were fighting Godzilla. That'd be funny.
Fun fact, originally, that opening did not exist. Originally, I don't know, Gulliver, if you're aware of this, they had, there was a Viking opening originally.
Oh, really?
And it was fully animated. It was like one of the first things they put in production, where it's really like, it's like how you saw the origin of the Shepherd's Journal. Like the Vikings had the journal, and then they were attacked by Leviathan. That's how the journal got lost.
Mm-hmm. Jedi Knight Emperor's New Groove, and I will even wager to say that
they get a quartet. We all love a good barbershop quartet.
Yeah, well, I will wager to say that Fantasia 2000, probably the black sheep of this bunch, but it's still fantastic. All right.
I would say Chicken Little's more the black sheep of the bunch, but
Well, I'm just saying in terms of like this whole string of Disney movies that we're talking about, like in a row.
Fair point. We all got to start somewhere. So, we got the ball
weird
rolling.
With Brother Bear. Brother Bear was kind of like the weird, like, tipping point.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways.
All right.
Okay. So let's see. Dragon, any background on this thing?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. So to keep it simple. So, this course is directed by, Gary Trousdale and Kirk Wise. These are the guys behind Beauty and the Beast and Hunchback of Notre Dame, two very solid films. Don Hahn produced this, our guy, Tiki, the guy who brought us the wonderful documentary, Waking Sleeping Beauty. So Don Hahn worked on this. Basically, it all started with with kind of the big four. I mean, along with the writer Tab Murphy, I believe his name was. So you have these four guys. Tiki, it starts the way every great Disney or Pixar movie should. It started with a lunch. They had a Mexican lunch, and they went to a Mexican restaurant, had lunch, and they had like chimichangas, and it was like right after Hunchback of Notre Dame came out, and they were basically like kind of jazzed out of their mind about like, what can we do next? Like, let's shake things up like we did with Hunchback. Let's do something a little more adventure centric versus kind of the musical fantasy thing we've been doing all traditionally Disney's known for. Let's shake it up a little bit. And they're very much looking into stuff like Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, and Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's on their mind clearly. Some Edgar Rice Burroughs is on their mind because Tarzan and everything up to that point. Speaking of which, I'm sorry, with the Burroughs, the writer on this, Tab Murphy. He did Hunchback. He also did Tarzan. And a little fun fact, he adapted Batman Year One in the animated movie. I had no idea about till my research. I was like, oh my God, no wonder I like this movie. Look at this. Look at these dominoes stacking up here. Anyway, so they went real deep with the Atlantean research because you don't want to do the thing we've seen all the time. Like we don't want this to look like Aquaman. Like, it's just underwater. And it's Greek buildings underwater. We don't want to see that. Like we've seen it a million times before. So they really poured over the research. The internet was very new back then, but they were pulling from it like crazy and all over the place. They visited like a submarine exhibit in Baltimore. I think they looked at like the kind of the guts of the submarine. Obviously, they expanded it to make it all look all nice and Jules Vernean with the Ulysses. The hardest part was developing the Atlantean dialect, and what they did so cleverly is they brought in the guy who built the Klingon language, the guy who created that whole thing. They brought him in.
Appropriate enough with the Nimoy of it all.
The design work, the design work's spectacular. It's kind of an amalgam of a lot of guys who've worked in live action, like on stuff like Men in Black and Jurassic Park, and as well, I think the chief kind of designer amongst the bunch, Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy kids.
This is always such a trippy kind of like crossroads for me with comic books and Disney. I think this was a great, like, I miss this era of Disney so much, like almost specifically because every Disney movie looked different. Like you had a Fantasia 2000, which was just a blending of different art styles. Emperor's New Groove kind of went with, like the Squatch and Stretch kind of like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, the Tex Avery sort of thing.
Right. And then Lilo and Stitch, of course, had the watercolors. This has its own thing going on. Treasure Planet has the steampunk. I mean, like even Dinosaur is fucking god awful boring as that movie is. Like they were trying something with the look,
Oh yeah, and definitely Mignola. Of course, Mignola's style very much is kind of like a big send up to Jack Kirby, which is always a good sign. Very cinematic as well. Where Kirby's all about the basically Mignola's kind of like a more ancient looking monolithic version of Kirby's style. That's usually what his thing looks like. With Hellboy with the rocky hand and everything. It's always kind of it's kind of in. You can kind of see a lot of that in the design. It comes across really well for this. Fun fact. I'm sure you're going to appreciate this thing. So Michael J. Fox, so when he was asked to do this, he was also asked to do another movie in the early 2000s. Titan AE. Now, the tipping point...
You would have fit into that movie like a glove, honestly, and you know it.
Sadly. So, the deciding factor between the two films, though...
I like Titan AE. I like that movie.
I do, too.
It's fine. It's not great, but it's fine.
I won't argue against it. I have my childhood memories of it.
Well, I think we can agree the villains in Titan AE are no Rorke.
That's true.
No.
But his son actually decided, like he left it up to his son. His son picked Atlantis, so he made the right choice.
Smart kid.
Yeah, made the right choice. Now on a grimmer note, Jim Varney's last film.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a really good performance to go out on, though.
It is, though. You're right, though. It is. I mean, between this and earlier, you have Slinky Dog. I mean, again, you couldn't go out on two better roles, honestly. They went with the 1914 setting to contrast the cultures with the advancement of Atlantis and kind of like just kind of the we think we're cutting edge in 1914. Right.
Yeah.
So we think we know everything, just the right era. And of course, you guys know the sad ending to the story of Atlantis, which now I'm not talking about that it sinks. It's how we start this story. No, it's that. This was released against Shrek, which pretty much killed it.
Was it really released the same weekend?
I want to say Shrek was the same weekend. I'm saying you had stuff like Shrek and you had like Lara Croft and you had like stuff that was kind of stealing its thunder. So I don't. It was probably in the same month. I don't know if it was the same week.
It was definitely the same month for sure.
The point being, if Shrek came out before it, then certainly that would probably.
No, it definitely beat it out at the box office because I remember when I got back to the States, I remember going to see Shrek because it was popular and it was still in theaters. but I don't think Atlantis was at that time.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, the aftermath was that they really liked working on this movie. They were going to franchise it like crazy. They were going to do it, the TV series, which turned into kind of
they were going to turn the submarine voyage into an Atlantis ride, which would have been freaking awesome.
It would have been a really cool idea. Of all the things you're going to retheme, I mean, that one would have made the most sense.
Would have made way more sense in Tomorrowland than freaking Nemo.
Anyway. But yeah, and of course there was a TV series in the works, which basically turned into I believe it's also on Disney Plus. If anyone's just like morbidly curious,
I watched like half of it. It's okay.
Laura told me it's terrible.
It's not good.
I wouldn't classify it as terrible.
Yeah.
Per
I mean, the
se,
animation is a huge downgrade, though.
The animation is obviously a big downgrade. Yes. You know what? You got the characters, not all of the voices, but you got I don't know. I'm probably being way too forgiving of it. I didn't even get through the whole thing, so I can't really be that glowing about it.
And again, they pretty much just took 3 episodes of the series they were going to make and turned into kind of a pilot movie, and clearly
that's exactly what they did.
It was not enough to raise any interest, sadly enough.
Yeah.
So again, c'est la vie, but 20 years later, it's resurfaced, unlike the Ulysses. It's resurfaced.
Also, I'm sorry, really quick, what really bothers me about that sequel is the fact that it's called Milo's Return, which literally makes no sense because the whole plot of the movie is like everyone except Milo returning.
Yeah. He hasn't
so what
gone
is it
anywhere.
like? What is it like? Oh, we're going to give Milo our return. So Milo, here, this is your possessive return that we are giving to you. I'm thinking way too hard about that. Let's move on.
Okay, so let's
I'm on board. I'm on board with your thought process there.
All right, let's kick off our adventure here. We're gonna break this down in the 3 A's, if you will. The A's, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. A little 3-act structure.
I just want the audience to picture like all the acts with like the giant Atlantis A.
Yeah.
All right.
A1, of course, being our traveling to Atlantis. Let's talk the fundamentals. Let's talk Milo Thatch, our protagonist of our story here.
Yeah, I think that Milo Thatch is like a great starting point for this movie because of his attachment to his grandfather and the fact that he is, he's the one wide-eyed sort of like explorer type in a gang full of frankly kind of assholes. And honestly, I kind of appreciate that the movie is sort of mean-spirited to him in a way because you don't see that with a lot of other Disney movies.
Well, it's very jocular, they warm up to him eventually. There's very much sort of like...
No, it is, but I'm just saying, like, in a lot of other Disney movies, it's like, we don't see the hero go through as much, like, sort of real-world shit as Milo goes through.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Smart heroes are more interesting than strong heroes.
Mm-hmm. That they are. I've always loved Milo Thatch as a Disney character, and of course, Michael J. Fox. I think he brings the just the right amount of earnestness to him. It's just this.
To me, it's the definitive Michael J. Fox performance. I know we got Back to the Future. I know you don't have to remind me, but like to me, like Michael J. Fox just gives it his all in this one.
Right. I mean, just to give credits to, it's really a crime that, Michael J. Fox...
The distinction between Back to the Future and this for me is more so, Back to the Future was just kind of like Michael J. Fox, like just bringing his Michael J. Fox 80s energy. Whereas this, he's really channeling a character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sure, and what I mean is, even it's really a crime that Michael J. Fox, he couldn't have done, because he did such a great job on this film, he couldn't have done more voice work outside of basically the only other main character he's ever gotten has been Stuart Little and was it Chance from Homeward Bound, the dog, so that's not much.
You know what? But that's not nothing either.
It's not nothing. It's not. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying he did such a good job.
I mean, those are two really solid roles.
I mean, Stuart Little, and Chance is a little more, hey, we got Michael J. Fox to do the voice of the dog.
But I love Homeward Bound, all right?
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it would have been nice to give him like a real character outside of those 3 roles. I mean, because he did such a great job here with this. And that's the thing, like he's funny. He's very endearing. You know, I just love the idea of this kid trying to live up to his hero, which was his grandpa. I think that's very.
Yeah.
I root for this guy, you know, through all the hardships and everything he's incurring here. Is like, and also one of the Disney leads that breaks the dreaded, you know, Disney leading man curse.
What do you mean? That
You know, the idea that a lot of the Disney fare, you know, usually the leading man, you know, basically like the male lead character will be overshadowed by something else in the movie, like you know.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
So in this case, I'd say probably him and Tarzan, but Tarzan's literally like the namesake character, so I don't know if that really counts. But you know, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, and of course he's got a great wiry design. He's very passionate about finding Atlantis, you know, an archaeologist. Again, he's like the uncool version of Indiana Jones, being the archaeologist linguist that he is. And that Mr. Harcourt scene just breaks my heart every time I watch it. The whole like, you know, like, hey, you want an expedition? I'll fund. He's like flips like a quarter or something at him. Go take a trolley down to the Potomac and jump in the water. I'll clear your head.
All right. But then we get to Mr. Whitmire.
Whitmore.
I'm sorry. It's just Whitmore is
my favorite scene in the movie. Get it right.
It is a great scene. I'm glad you like it so much. I feel like this scene in particular, there's so much like kind of like wonder and whimsy going on. You know, it's like the possibilities are, you know, it really strikes your imagination. I love how well paced it is too.
Yeah, it's just, of course. Now, of course, I've been through all of, you know, Frasier and you know, before this I had him in the Iron Giant. But I'm saying after going through all of Frasier, I have an even deeper appreciation looking back on it. John Mahoney playing Mr. Whitmore.
Yeah, great cast.
And he gave such a great performance. He's like the eccentric, which explains why the heck he would kind of stick to this bet that he made and fund this crazy expedition for, you know, like, you know, 1914. But he's just a very Mahoney brings out the warmth and loyalty to Milo's grandfather, Thaddeus, and you know, the bet over the Shepherd's Journal and everything. It's just a really great scene in so many sense. I love like the model. My model, you know me, I'm a sucker for a good model. So I love the model of the Ulysses coming up with like the little air thing. It's a little setup for Act 3 with how we're going to get out with the big dirigible, you know, balloon thing. It's very Jules Verne-esque, the whole model.
Absolutely.
That's cool. I think it's just so, you know, it's just the duty-bound determination of Milo to fulfill his grandfather's dream, and just Whitmore as being kind of a grandfatherly figure to him. It's like I'll go in a rowboat if I have to, and he's kind of putting him through almost like a Willy Wonka test, like, you know, a good deed in a cruel world sort of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this kid's got the grit; he can do it. I'm so glad to hear it. You know, my gosh, he even brought my cat here. This guy's in with me. All right. Lovely stuff. Just Whitmore has my heartstrings. Okay. Anyway,
somebody get a microwave meal done? Is that what's
that sounds about right.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. Let's see. So let's talk Gulliver. Let's talk the team.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. So, yes, of course, the team overall, you know, the dream team, if you will, Team Atlantis. Sometimes they're called Team Atlantis. That is what they were going to call the show if they've got off the ground, I think. But the team, you know, these are the same guys that retrieved the journal. You know, very much kind of outcasts and oddballs, and also very international if you really look at them, which I think is kind of cool and refreshing. Everyone's like, you know, we have our Italian demolitions expert. You know, we have the Puerto Rican engineer and mechanic, you know, or Native American doctor, and you know, we have our French geologist, you know, so it's very international. It's kind of cool. But where would you like to start, Gulliver? Who were some of your favorites on the team?
I really like Joshua. I think he has this very winning sort of like jovial personality, which I think is a nice contrast to some of the more curmudgeonly characters.
Yeah, he's my favorite of the team personally. Phil Morris doing the voice. You know, of course, you know, Jackie Childs from Seinfeld, Vandal Savage from the animated Justice League stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. I really like Vinny as well. The demolitions guy. He's just got this very like no nonsense sort of attitude, just like extremely focused. and just has these kind of little quips for every line. That's very enjoyable.
Hey, look, I made a bridge. It only took me like what, 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Fun fact that all of his lines are improvised in this movie because which
is great. Vinny is gold, man. Vinny is one of the most unique Disney comic relief characters. I honestly love him.
The flower shop, and I love how passionately he reflects back on like the kind of his bat crashing through the glass moment of like there was something called a prom. They want a corsage.
The little things you put on your wrists.
There was like a leak, like a gas or something, and it blows up and it hit me knocked me through the window, and I was basically he's had a love affair with all things incendiary, and it's wonderful. And of course we have that wonderful monotone, direct kind of voice with
right, yeah.
It's a great design too. They always got like a match in hand and a mustache. It's perfect. But
it's expressive without being expressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again,
on the Atlantis live action remake, but like of all the fan casting I have, I think I really want to see J.K. Simmons play this part.
But yeah, seriously, I mean, Dr. Sweet, absolutely my favorite of bunch next to Vinny. But he's just
Sweet is an MVP for sure.
Just the friendly doctor. I always love he's so pivotal to the movie if you really think about it, because he's he meets Milo. It's nice and friendly. When he's kind of bump into each other. And I just love the animation on Dr. Sweet. Like he's really kind of he's really quick the way he's animated, because he's really he's really smart of the bunch. Because all the medical stuff. Like when he's doing like the examination on Milo, like Phil is with what? It's a fun scene. He's fixing his neck and everything. With a little like neck cracking thing. And what I'm getting is like, in the big kind of low of lows moment, he lifts him out of that by quoting his grandfather. He really kind of digs him out of the emotional trenches. And my heart goes out this way. And I think Morris did just such an excellent job, playing this character. And a little fun fact: not only is Joshua Sweet here the first Black Disney character done right. Let's say it. He is also animated by one of the first Black animators, not Floyd Norman, but Ron Husband. One of the early hires with Floyd Norman. It's kind of something kind of special added to Dr. Sweet. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I just think he has like this energy to him that, like you said, he's very fast paced. He just very much seems like the type of guy you would want as a coworker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course, he knows how Mole operates too. He's love the dynamic with Mole, like treating him like a pet. I got soap. Don't make me use it.
Don't tell him, Audrey. You told me. She told me, and I didn't want to know. Now I don't want you. I'm butchering the line, but it's funny.
Yeah. You can't all be Phil Morris kids.
A lot of the others they're experts in what they do, but they're not particularly professional. Whereas Joshua is both. He's both an expert in what he does and is also extremely professional.
Yeah. So speaking of Mole,
can we talk about how awesome Packard is?
Or we can just go to Packard. Let's go to Packard.
Packard just absolutely like freaking stole the show for me this time around, I think.
Yeah.
She got all the great lines. Florence Stanley is hysterical. I mean, she's great on dinosaurs, and she's great here.
Commander. Very Dragon.
Just an amazing performance. I don't know if the voice came first or the character model came first, but the synchronicity of the two is out of control good. I feel like that I would just watch like a good 20 minutes.
He's coming back.
Packard.
I'll call you back.
Yeah.
I just think, again, like with all these characters, just collectively, they are such unique comic relief. Like you never see this flavor of comic relief in a freaking Disney movie, man. Like it's so refreshing.
Right. So let's talk Mole.
Mole is it fair to say that out of all these guys, he's probably the least interesting?
But he's fun though.
Agreed.
He's fun, but he really is like the we got to throw one character in for the kids.
Yeah, he's the human cartoon.
No, he's the eccentric geologist. Look, is he the most developed? No, that's because it's the gag though. We don't want to know about Mole's past. We just take him as he is. He's I don't know. It's just he's.
You like that he has hands bigger than his head. Why not?
Yeah, because again, he's like a mole. He's like a badger. It's yeah. Of course, I love how we animate the goggles and how like the eyes are going crazy. It's like extra features don't make any sense if you really think about it, but it's cool because it works like John Silver's arm in Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so we have really cool. We have Pink Pearl, and we also have LOTRER fan in the comments there. So, how are you guys doing tonight? Glad to have you here this evening. LOTRER fan thinks the Doctor is awesome. Pink Pearl says, I'm still hoping for a live-action remake of Hercules with DeVito as Phil. Phil was made for him. But DeVito as the mole guy would be funny. I could see that. I have Andy Serkis is my mole casting, but DeVito I could see.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
One of my favorite little mole bits, though, on the rewatch, I completely forgot about it. It's so adorable.
What about Nick Frost?
That could work.
That's a good pool. That
could work, actually.
That.
It's not bad.
Like that.
Either him or Circus. But anyway. So, anyway, Mole, though, there's like a little moment between him and Milo. I love that pretty much each member of the team, I mean, probably sans Packard, really, if you think about it, but outside of Packard, everyone really has like a bonding moment with Milo. Like
Milo, honey, your grandpa and I got it on once in Cairo, and it was magical, Milo. It was a magical night. All right, I'm terribly sorry.
You thrilled with that?
Yes, I am.
Anyway, what I was getting at, the heartwarming moment, was I love that Milo's talking about the story with his grandpa and how he found the arrowhead and everything, and he says no, it was like some sort of shale or like naming all like the rock, the geologist kind of related stuff, like what kind of rock it was or whatnot, and like Mole's going, oh, that's so cute. He's so he's so charming. Like they've had the jovial prankster moments between him and Vinny, like the nitroglycerin, he's putting whoopee cushions there. It was kind of like each character has kind of like a bonding moment, and it's kind of nice. Mole got his, Vinny obviously with the nitroglycerin gag and the flower shop, and that campfire scene kind of gave us a lot of real estate in terms of building the bonds. So for sure, probably one of the greatest bonds of these characters is Audrey and Milo.
Yeah, Audrey is she's fantastic, man. I think she's got one of the best backstories.
Yeah, she very much has like a sisterly bond with him, and we find out, her father wanted sons, and essentially, she and her sister lived up exactly to their father's expectations, just being girls, and that's fine,
Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons, Dragon?
I guess so.
I love how defeated you just sounded.
It's also really nice to have like, different depictions of women in a Disney film.
Totally.
Like obviously like Helga and Keita are both, somewhat sexualized in a way that they, female leads in Disney films often are. But to have, Audrey and yes, Mrs. Packard be primary characters and get as much screen time as those characters as well.
I'm too much for you to handle, honey.
Yeah. Or, is really good. Like, it's nice to see that, women aren't all expected to be the, the Keita or the Helga.
Yeah, Helga, of course, very seductive noir kind of femme fatale intro.
Right.
So Cookie, of course, just pure Varney gold as the cook. I love the escargot gag so much. So like, I wanted the escargot. Yeah. Anyway, so let's see. So anyway, so should we? Do you want to save Rorke for later? Or do you want to talk about him now?
Rorke, well, just to tease him up, I think that I love how he comes across, especially on where it's like, he's got he's that smile, got that warm energy. Well, welcome to the team, Mr. Thatch. I don't know. It's almost assuming or something. like that. And so I really like the setup there, and I like how that there's something obviously wrong with what? Sorry?
That sounds like you're cutting in and out. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, we're having a bit of an audio thing, Tiki.
Well, fuck. I'm sorry, guys. I
well, now you're good. But could you recap the?
Yeah. Sounds like you're back. Yeah.
Yeah, you're back now.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so let's just save Rorke for later. Now I'm all self-conscious. I'm sorry.
No worries. We'll get to Act 3 soon enough.
All right, okay, we'll save Rorke for all the big Rorke stuff happens later anyway. The point being, Rorke's around. He's all official and sound like James Garner. Okay, moving on. So, just long story short, the voyage. The voyage itself, of course, the Ulysses looks awesome in the water. It does. The design work on that, again, very just again coming from the men who brought us, Jurassic Park, Men in Black, looks great. Of course, when these things fire, you got a lot of Mignola kind of charm to them. Let's talk the Leviathan sequence.
Yeah, that's it's very much something that I'd like to see in the parks for sure. I feel like it's sort of a spiritual successor to the Cave of Wonders escape. As far as technology and pace goes. Yeah, and of course we have just this terrifying build. I'm paranoid, guys. So clarify if I'm sounding good or not.
Have we said that you didn't sound good?
No, but the big pregnant.
And what does that tell you?
Something worries me.
It's good. You're still here.
Yes,
right. We still got you.
Anyway, what was I getting into that? All right. Yeah, I love the buildup around the Leviathan, where it's this. We just have all these. We have all the ships that have been sunken over the years. It's this giant cove. Oh yeah, it's like a statue or something we're gonna pass. It's a statue, all right. It's a living statue. It's gonna kill you.
Yep.
It's gonna be terrifying. And there was gonna be a lot more stops like the Leviathan that were gonna come across, and they had to minimize it. So you have that. You have real quick as a gag. It basically turned into a montage where it wasn't a montage before. I think it was a good call at the end of the day. You have a giant kind of caterpillar looking monster things, some bug monsters. That was originally a whole sequence, and so they kind of made wrong turn. Okay, Milo. Oh, that guy needs to read.
Again, all of this would have been a fucking great ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have the climate gags too, it's really cold. It's I love that we're going to Atlantis and we're not just undersea for the whole voyage, which if I went into an Atlantis movie, I would not expect that at all. I expect we're going to be underwater for the whole thing. It's
way more subterranean journey to the center of the earth than it is 20,000 leagues under the sea.
Yeah. It's an excellent point. Yes. And also just not a fun fact. Let me get this in here. Big feather in the cap here. People actually died on this mission.
Yep.
As in a lot of people.
I'm glad you bring that up because my God, this movie's got a body count.
And we have a little funeral, a little we have the Dr. Sweet with a little helmet with the candle on it.
We have a full crew that literally gets dissolved to our main cast and a few henchmen for Rorke.
I just love the logic of we need our core characters for the climax and some baddies to fight, but we have a whole submarine full of people. I don't think we're going to be able to. It's going to be too many characters to track.
We can get more into it later too, but I think it's maybe one of the reasons that this one hasn't lasted the way that some of the other big Disney movies have. In the sense that I really get the sense that this movie is aimed more at a PG-13 crowd than it is at a PG crowd.
And Disney should not be afraid to lean into PG-13 when it's necessary.
Well, I don't think they
have
are
no problem
now.
with that. I think my assumption is that maybe, I think maybe it was a little bit on the darker side, on the more adult side than, a lot of parents were super excited about for their young kids and what they might expect from, recent Disney movies could be. Influencing that decision as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's talk Act 2. Let's actually talk about Atlantis now that we're this far into it. Yeah, let's talk about it. So we've arrived at Atlantis and we meet Keita. So let's talk Keita.
I had such a crush
on her.
Keita is
probably the weak point of the movie for me.
Really?
I'm sorry. To me, I like what we do with her in Act 2. I do. I like her characterization in Act 2. What kills it for me is that they literally just make her the damsel in distress, and she gets absolutely no agency of her own in Act 3. I hate to be that guy, but like, I don't know. Like, I thought it was really disappointing that we were building up this character to be such a badass, and literally she just kind of like incapacitated through all the finale.
Well, she kicked the crap out of those stormtrooper guys.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Now, no, I'll meet you halfway. And I do admit, when I go back to the movie, a point that didn't really occur to me that I really went back to is that, we play a little fast and loose with the vagaries of how exactly the whole crystal possession thing works. I'll admit that's something I can't. I'm sure there was an intent that maybe they figured it out, but it's hard to really. It came across really vague, and like I don't know exactly how it works. I don't know if her father's body went up in the thing at the end. I don't know. And, and that does take a little bit away from her in the climax. I don't necessarily mind that, but I do mind the fact of like, so we just don't really know how any of this crystal stuff works ultimately today, do we?
It's pretty fast and loose world building.
I mean, it doesn't kill the movie for me. It's just something like, it's like one thing I can't really, it's basically where I'm taking in the visual at that point. That's the only
environment is amazing. The culture is great. The rules are muddled.
That's the thing. I think that's the only credence I can give the critics that were harsh in the movie. Like, we did play because they critiqued the story. It's like I think up until that one point, it's like, that's the one. Yeah, it went a little vague for Act 3. But it's cool.
Yeah, I think the most like disengaged I got was when like Milo knows stuff about their culture that they don't know.
So that's another thing.
That's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
it's their culture. Yeah.
That one's more of a buy I could excuse given the fact the Atlanteans have lived for so long and, there's generations of Atlanteans and the father's a little secret. That's the only thing I could possibly muster, but you're right. It's not exactly like a free ticket.
Right. But if they'd had like some sort of plot line, like, the longer we live, the more forgetful we are or something like that, then I've been like, cool, totally buy it.
I think they're probably they're going really
I am
ambitious
not
with the
someone
lingual.
who cares about this at all, but like Milo is kind of like an example of the white savior trope, just a little bit.
Come on. The white savior thing. Really?
I mean,
he's a weaker example of it, but
I'm saying if you're gonna like, I feel like he fits in that box.
Yeah.
But
anyway. So,
Atlanteans don't know English, Jedi Knight. Dragon, can you explain that?
Well, essentially, if I recall, the Atlanteans can't read their own language. Like they can't.
Can you explain like because
how they know English? Right.
From what I can tell with the language thing, this was a cool detail with the rule building. This was a rule that actually kind of made sense for me, where basically their language is like an homogenation of like all the languages, so they can kind of like pick up and kind of like go into any different language.
Yeah, and basically in the scene where Milo's kind of conversing with it for the first time, if you really look at it, he's trying to feel out, like he's repeating a little bit of what he's transcribed from the journals to kind of like convey, like, okay, I'm speaking your language, I'm speaking words that should sound familiar to you, and then they're both basically going through all the languages. He's going through languages, and that's kind of him coming to the realization of, okay, she's familiar with a little bit of everything here, which again basically lands on she might also know English if I give it a shot, which ultimately worked. So again, the Atlanteans, I think that's the point. It's a kind of a homogenization of all the languages. I think because again, Atlantis is just kind of universal, and that's
it's a little bit of a buy to just get them to speak English, but you know what? It's way better than listen with your heart, you will understand.
But also, it's kind of like at least we addressed it somewhat. We addressed versus like the whole everyone just like until they have like a Star-Lord with a little device on his ear, like everyone can just can understand the language. All right. But Keita herself, though. Fun fact though, Cree Summers. This is the only major role theatrically she's ever gotten.
That's crazy, man.
Because of that voice actor.
That right there is just an example of how real voice actors need to be treated better in this industry, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's such a crime we can't.
She is nothing short of voice acting royalty, as far as I'm concerned.
Because short of the traditional, for example, the Rugrats movie, which she is in, as Susie Carmichael. Again, that's how she gets theatrical and kind of like a supporting role. And that, okay, hey, Sue. So we're taking the franchise, putting it on the big screen. Unless you do something really stupid like recast everyone, that's going to work. And again, it's so rarely do you have just like an original project that we have voice actors, because we need to get in that, you get that, gotta get that star power in there for some reason, instead of just like telling a good story. Just like, obviously in Pixar's case, it's worked wonders for them, that they've actually gotten people right for the roles. But sometimes we need the star power, and so it's good to see that kind of change with this here, like at least for a glimmering moment. Like, hey, we got Cree Summers there on a big role. It's kind of cool. But I thought
she seemed like, I don't know, like a Catherine Zeta-Jones or something, like from this era they pull out.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought she was rather fleshed out in like her dynamic with Milo and everything. I love that they both mirror each other, and that they're learning.
The dynamic with Milo is the age thing always. Like,
come on, that's not. It's like she's thousands of years. She's eight. What is it like?
Yeah, I know she's thousands of years old.
Yeah, it's like 8,800. It's like, come on, like, what is that?
It's anyway. Weird. It's weird. That's
it's
all. It's
not like she's an old woman, though. Well, you know what I mean. She's not physically an old woman.
Right.
Anyway, the point though, I do like how they have like they have chemistry. They're learning, very enthusiastic about learning about the Atlantean culture, and it's a subtle love story versus like hitting you on the head where it's like, oh, these two crazy kids. I kind of want them to get together, but I don't need to supersede the story at play. It's like, well, again, they're hanging out together. You kind of see the sparks, but it's not hitting you on the head with it. I don't know. It's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the Atlantean lore on the whole, though. So again, they kind of took Greek myth off the table, which led to a lot of clever, more obscure kind of pulls, which is really cool. Like the theory was, it's architecture in reverse, as in the closer we get to Atlantis, the more kind of simplistic the architecture gets to when we go down to the core. It's like, okay, there's no buildings here. We're just going down like kind of a rock path.
I remember as a kid, that was such a cool idea for Atlantis to be just basically this big, like, sprawling, naturalistic, almost kind of like Pandora-like environment.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of the Edgar Rice Burroughs and Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of idea of like, there's kind of ancient stuff but beneath the surface. I really like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of like almost like the kind of the primordial kind of portal to another realm within our own Earth, which we've kind of seen toyed. I think now everyone has kind of seen a glimpse of it with that Godzilla versus Kong movie. But
yeah, I was gonna say that's like one of the few actually clever things that movie did.
My favorite use of it ever was Pellucidar in Tarzan, which I'm pretty sure adapted from the Burroughs story. So I've always loved it when we kind of do it. Like you have like dinosaurs in Africa, and it's awesome. But anyway. So Mignola, you notice like all the Atlantean A and everything kind of like carved into the surfaces everywhere. So the design on that was actually Mignola said it was like a circuit board mixed with crop circles, which I think is a really cool idea. Again, taking the science and kind of the lore and kind of mixing with the height of technology.
Yeah,
at least at the time. The whole like fish rock vehicle look. I mean, that's really cool. It's it's got a lot going for it.
That's like a built-in ride vehicle for Disney, like built-in ride vehicle.
Outside of the vagaries that come with kind of the Act 3 and you turn Keita into like a living crystal, what do you think about the crystal power source as a whole?
I mean, I'm not crazy about it. I think it's probably the weakest part of the Atlantis stuff.
I don't think it's cool at all. Like,
I think it's cool.
It's fine. I don't really think it's that cool per se. I don't know.
I love like the irrigation thing. I don't think I'm using the right word there, but like the whole environmental thing where the waterfall is always falling into the lava, which creates like the clouds and everything that's going to kind of like go over the place and going to help the inhabitants. It's got like, again, they thought of everything with kind of the building of Atlantis, which was cool. It feels like a place that's been in operation for thousands of years, which I think was key to the film. So all this nice stuff's going on, and then of course the bad stuff happens. The low of lows happens. The big old twist happens. And my God, is it a twist? I'm sure Disney was sweating their brow on. It was a hard sell to them. Like, we're going to take your colorful cast of cuddly characters, and we're gonna make them all bad guys. Like, remember that mole kid? We're gonna give him a gun and have him like give like an evil smile.
Yeah, that's. I'll admit that is a little bit too much of a tone shift.
But I like it though. I like how gutsy it is. It's like we made him. And it's like you said earlier, Tiki. It's like they're all in it for the money, self-admittedly.
Sure.
I think you get to see, like, both sides of it. You get to see that idea that, a moral quandary here is not exactly black or white in this case.
I don't fucking buy that Packard would have been on Milo's side, just given what we know about her.
I wonder if she's smart enough to realize, they're
she
all
could have
siding.
just gone with the, the majority of the room too, and just been like, "Fine, I'll do it."
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think she's kind of realizing, well, I mean, plus maybe there's a chance that if all these guys are speaking up, this is wrong. Maybe there's something in the air. Maybe I should just kind of read the room here. I should go with the winning side.
Be associated with Rorke, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, Rorke killed an old man.
Though, I mean, Rorke, like, once he's revealed to be bad, like, he is delightfully bad, man. Like, I forgot just how memorable he is as a villain in the third act.
You've really gotten under my skin. Congratulations, you win the Cupid Doll prize.
He's got so many great one-liners like that. I mean, even throughout the movie, way before he turns evil, but his demise is, like, seriously one of the most memorable. Like, with that little Atlantean shard that just totally morphs him.
Yeah, that whole
big cool jump scare
feels very Mignola.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know what my favorite thing about Rorke is like kind of a nostalgic thing for me. It's he looks like Major Chip Hazard, from Small Soldiers to me just a little bit.
I can see that. Yeah.
As a kid, I've always appreciated, like, yeah, he looks a lot like Major Chip Hazard. But I mean, fundamentally, as a villain, though, so as you said, Tiki, it's very much one of the original twist villains. He's very
easily one of the best.
I love that he is the opposite of Milo in every way, and that kind of makes him kind of a great kind of villain the whole time if you really think about it. And it's like he's the traditional leader, and we were thinking Milo is not cut out for this at all. He should barely be down there if he couldn't read the book, But ultimately, this is kind of what thrusts Milo into the leadership role, him being kind of the hero the whole time. Not saying it was like a huge shock or anything. We were very much feeling for the kid, but him being kind of the guy who's actually kind of running a military operation practically by the big action sequence. And I think ultimately what really kind of corrupts Rorke is that he has no loyalty to anyone but himself or Milo. And his whole deal is loyalty to his grandfather, and kind of bring out the loyalty in others. I think loyalty is kind of the big kind of tying factor with a lot of this movie. I do like Rorke's museum point. It's very Indiana Jones bad guy thing to say, where whereas he's arguing he's on the right side of things here, like everything in the museum.
Back every stolen thing from every museum, we'd be left with a bunch of empty buildings.
Exactly, that's a really good line. I just love that's his justification for it, and he somewhat has a point. I mean, it's not right, but he has a point that, if we gave back, I mean, we're so in the hole morally now. What's the difference? The man has no honor at this point, and of course, then Milo justifiably he's really driving in the guilt knife for the crew after he knows exactly what they were going to buy with their money and everything.
Yep.
And again, Rorke, the most horrible thing that he does, he basically kills an old man with eternal bleeding. He punches poor Leonard King Nimoy. Just he
does a lot of horrible shit, man. I mean, first of all, that he does that. He does that sucker punch to Milo, like right in the middle of the groove.
And he catches the glasses amazingly, but he doesn't.
And then, he fucking just straight up kills Helga.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Not before she has a chance to get some awesome revenge, but still.
Oh, yeah. That bit him in the end.
Sealed her fate at the very least.
Oh, for sure. That's the thing. That did him in the end. His lack of loyalty to Helga did him in.
Yep.
All right, so after Dr. Sweet kind of pumps Milo up after he gives him the pep talk, he kind of quotes his grandfather to him, which again I love. That's also the solution to the third act kind of climax. You're like, when you're at the bottom, there's the only place to go is up, which essentially is okay. We're in the volcano, we need to go up. At least that's what Rorke's trying to do. So we got to stop him from going up. Yeah. So that brings us our big climax of Act 3, which is just insane in all the right ways.
I literally just talked about that, Greg. A lot of time crunch.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry. I just the demise of Rorke. Yeah, I got it.
Well, I meant I was going to talk about the deep canvas effect, but thanks for that. But
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, anyway, so like it's kind of a little bit like the lava, effect in Aladdin. We kind of do when we have like the lava and everything going on there, and it's it's just really cool. A lot of Kirby crackle going on stylistically, and it's Atlantis falls by water in Act 1, has fire in Act 3. It's all very cyclical. So that brings us to the ending. So
getting to see them at the end with kind of discussing the story to make sure that they've all kind of got it straight with all their
I also like
jewels and gems and
I
stuff.
like their
it's fun.
I like their costume changes.
Yeah.
I love how they worked like the little crystal into like a little piece, piece of jewelry. Like he has earrings and he's got like a little tie pin and everything. It's really nice. But yeah, this amazing title image here and the transition from that is really nice too. Just like a little memento. And the Whitmire, the Whitmire thing really touches me too. Just getting that little letter written on the photograph about it. Here's the proof. You and your friend were talking about all these years. Here you go. It did wonders for me. It's really nice. Really kind of nice ending, a little somber funeral, and then we have the big money shot, which is, by the way, the hardest shot in the entire film. They used like the digital multiplane camera in reverse, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it's a crazy technically advanced shot for the time, for sure.
And then we have the curse of all the 2000s Disney movies. We have the dumb, trendy pop song.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as the one in Lilo and Stitch, but it's still
the one in Lilo and Stitch is really bad.
Yep.
All right, before we get to final thoughts, really quick, Jedi Knight, I have a one-word answer for you. For what park would you put a hypothetical ride in? Disneyland, the original park.
Earlier,
because they're one of the they're one of the only parks left that actually still has their sub lagoon, and I would like to see
the sub lagoon still there.
Yeah,
currently?
Technically yes.
Okay, it's just not like an active ride.
I doubt they're ever going to reopen given the circumstances.
Yeah.
But
so much for the little boats.
I remember going on that when I was a kid. I haven't been to Disneyland in a long time, but my grandmother lived in Gardena, California for many years. So when we'd go visit her as a kid, I would go to Disneyland. That was a special treat.
Yeah. All right. So final thoughts for me. I just think that this movie is. I am getting super nostalgic for 2000s Disney as a whole. I think towards the latter half of the decade, they definitely kind of got wonky with it. But man, the first half of the decade was almost kind of hit after hit after hit, as far as I'm concerned. And this is one of the crown jewels in those hits, man. I really think that it's just a great ensemble. It's a terrific adventure movie. It's one of the most untraditional movies that Disney's ever done. I love how weird and unique the comic relief is. The design work is fantastic, both in terms of Magnolia's character designs and the kind of the CG touches. Just overall, it really knocked it out of the park for me, man. I really think this holds up 20 years later. All right. Gulliver?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It certainly has, flaws and things around it, but it's one of the more imaginative of the Disney films. It still feels vibrant and exciting. The art's excellent. The characterizations are excellent. And it's fun to go on the journey with the characters. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of wasted time in the movie. There's not moments where you're like, oh, get on with it already, which there definitely are in some of the earlier films of the the 80s and 90s with Disney. But at least in my opinion. But yeah, I'm very happy with this film, and if you like this film and have not seen Stargate, go watch that.
Gulliver, we need to do a podcast on the Stargate ride at some point. I can send you footage.
I'm so hype.
We will make it happen.
Yeah.
All right. Dragon?
All right. So in many ways, this film is Disney's Road to El Dorado to me. In many
much
respects.
so. That's a really good comparison, yeah.
I think I think they're absolutely in good company together. I mean, they're beloved classics from the early 2000s that found an audience over the years. The sad truth is, I think reflecting on it, to the day, sad truth is at that time, the animated adventure movie either was on its way out or like maybe too sophisticated for an audience back then. I don't know, because today these films would do gangbusters. They would, because people have been starving for a 2D movie done right like this. And like Atlantis itself, you don't miss it till it's gone. Films like this, we need more of them. We need to take risk and push, genres and boundaries that we've created for ourselves. Choose to go on the adventure, because who knows what we'll find, and still be talking about 20 years later.
I think you also get that sense of like the rise of the blockbuster as opposed to just films, where like budgets started getting, out of control, ridiculous. And you had like new Star Wars movies, and you had, Titanic and stuff like that, where they just spent insane amounts of money and then publicized them so hard that like you had to go and see those movies. And then the studios just started focusing on that rather than like, studios churning out, dozens of things. They were churning out half dozens of things and then marketing those things really hard. So I think the kind of rise of that sort of studio style definitely contributed to this as well.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, big thanks to Atomic Beast, Pink Pearl, Jedi Knight, LOTR, RE fan, and I think that's it. Guys, we are going live with memoirs like pretty much immediately, so stay tuned for that. That's on the channel, and yeah, have a good night, everyone. We're all gonna die. Hey, look, I made a bridge. It took me like 10 seconds, 11 thoughts.